Hi, everyone. Jake Seid with Ballistic Ventures, and we're very excited to be here to announce our leading the Series A of native security, 40 million plus in total financing being announced today, and have with me Amit Megiddo, founder and CEO, and my partner at Ballistic Ventures, Phil Venables. Our investment thesis in the cloud really revolves around the fact that things are changing very quickly. We can no longer only rely on securing the cloud by finding and prioritizing, triaging, fixing the vulnerabilities. And our investment thesis had led us to make some core investments at the bookends, preventative controls and runtime controls, and native security is our investment in preventative controls for the cloud. So let me start with Amit. Tell us about your background and how it led you to identify this problem and starting native.
So really, background goes to days in A200 and already getting exposure to a lot of these spaces. But really, the crux of it is my years at AWS. I helped launch and build a product for AWS called Amazon Guard Duty. It became a very broadly adopted security product for one of the main cloud providers. And over the years, I'd see that customers, enabled and bought in and always wanted to do more with what's already there, the security capabilities and CSP native security controls, but always struggled with that operationalization part. So the tools were there, the capabilities were there. I saw how much we were investing in them, how much AWS was investing in them, but there was always a gap between, the value, the potential value and the realized value. And that was really sort of like that origin. Over the years, I developed that and understood that there's also, while we were building a lot in the detection space, there was a lot of opportunity to move things forward into more of a secure by design policy intent driven space. So I was really fed by a lot of conversations with a lot of, I had the biggest privilege of the years at AWS was really speaking day in, day out with security leaders and practitioners from practically every company, organization in the world and learning a lot. And that's what fed it. And then, what the missing piece was getting the right team together to solve this fundamental problem. And I met Gal during my years at AWS. He was leading the native CSPM security hub. I met Eyal in Israel. He was the VP R&D at Dome9, one of the earliest companies in this space, and then the VP of cloud security at Checkpoint, the large public security company. And when we came together and it felt like the timing was right around this problem and had the team together to solve it and really move the industry forward, it was very clear to me that now is the time to start native and help our customers.
Phil, before Ballistic, you were the global CISO of Google Cloud. You talk to enterprises every day about their problems. Share some perspective on the problems that you heard about that native really addresses.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I saw very clearly was pretty much all enterprises, whether they're medium size or large corporations, or whether you're a public sector organization, had at least two, if not three or four clouds in operation across their businesses. And individual security teams, well, they might have expertise on one, possibly two clouds, struggle to maintain expertise across all of the clouds. And then also, what they wanted to do was to have a tool that could enable them to consistently set policy across all of their multi cloud deployments and to be able to rely on the native controls that, as Amit pointed out, that are continuously being enhanced by the cloud providers. And so fundamentally, their strategy of security being built into the platforms rather than bolted on was being realized by the cloud providers. But individual enterprises struggled to map a consistent layer of controls across all of those clouds. And one of the things that's exciting about what native are doing is giving teams the ability to be able to sit back and say, what's my policy intent across all of my cloud operations, not just one cloud, and then be able to configure that and use the cloud native controls that are increasingly effective and advanced to deliver that consistent policy across the enterprise. And one of the things that's great about that, and we've certainly seen this already in action, is at one level, organizations can use vulnerability scanners, security configuration tools, and they see lots and lots of issues. But when you approach this top down, setting a policy intent using the cloud native controls, you not only get a stronger and more secure environment, you get an environment where the controls are more consistent and in place over time, and you reduce a lot of noise and toil from lower level security tools. It's really a kind of a win all round for the security teams, and I think they're excited about setting this multi-cloud policy consistently.
And I mean, you're now deployed into production in very large enterprises. For these organizations, they've spent money on the well-known cloud security tools, the well-known CSPMs. Can you give some specific examples of some of the benefits you find you're able to deliver in these organizations that have spent all they could on all the other known security controls for the cloud?
We are already at this early stage deployed was really some of the largest Fortune 100 enterprises, global enterprises in the world. And I think it's not by coincidence. I think what we're seeing is the industry is now at a state of maturity, both from the cloud provider capabilities. Even if you go, 4 or 5, and even a year or two back, the enforcement capabilities, the policy capabilities from the cloud providers weren't as mature. And also the industry has matured into this place where we're seeing the more advanced the enterprise security teams at a maturity where they're ready to transition from that, visibility risk management state to more of a policy intent driven state where they can enforce policy natively into the infrastructure, more secure by design, more preventative control. So all of those are sort of meeting us at that enterprise where we're seeing great reception. And some I'll give like a couple of like real world examples because yes, they have their existing tools in place. They've invested in those. We're living side by side with their CNAPP today. There is room. We need the visibility. We need the detection. We need to find out what could go wrong. But then you want to start to enforce policy by design. So one sort of simpler example that touches directly to the CNAPP misconfiguration, working with a very large one of the top media streaming entertainment companies in the world. They were running down using their CNAPP, their non-compliant, non-secure databases, non-encrypted databases, sort of that constant whack-a-mole, chasing the rabbit. You get to that compliant state. By the time you do that, there's additional non-compliant resources. And using native, they were able to very quickly and importantly safely using things like simulating impact before deployment of policy and other capabilities we're building, put a policy in place that prevents there from ever again, not just in AWS, but across AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and Oracle, all 4 clouds they're on, prevent those misconfigurations from happening in the first place. I'll give now a different real world example from one of the top chip manufacturers in the world we're working with as well in production. This now goes to a more sort of deep architectural decision. This strays away from even misconfigurations your existing solution may tell you about and has to do with how you want to use your cloud, your business decisions. And they had a part of their cloud environments across, again, multiple clouds that they wanted to lock down from internet access because they were running internal AI training jobs. Turns out, web services, they were built to be exposed to the internet, and locking those down can be very it can be challenging. Just in Azure, for example, it's close to 80 different policy documents and controls to achieve that outcome. They were multiple months into the research stage of this project of locking down parts of their cloud environment from internet access, and using native within a few weeks, they were able to deploy these policies and lock down these environments again very effectively, very safely, and with us abstracting the complexities of doing that. So some real world examples, some tie more to the sort of classic, misconfiguration, some touch more deeply into the architecture, but all are part of this notion of you have a security outcome, you have an intent, and you now don't want to just go and find out, am I living to this policy, but you want to embed the policy natively into the environment.
Phil, this really native touches on a trend that we've talked a lot about with each other within Ballistic about secure by design. Um, the topic's been around for a long time, but what are you seeing in why it's becoming a priority for CISOs today?
Well, one of the things you see across a lot of security teams is they have this kind of dual focus now. One is clearly to make sure their businesses and everything they run are secure, but also they have to spend a lot of time making sure that their colleagues in product areas, business units, IT teams are highly productive about meeting their commercial objectives. And that means optimizing the security processes, reducing toil, reducing the effort of reviews, and a big part of that is, in effect, not just shifting left in the design lifecycle, but shifting down into the platforms. And a big part of that is making sure that the platforms that people run on are secure by design and also secure by default. So if a development team or a product team or an infrastructure team spins up a resource or a workload or a distributed system inside any of the clouds they run, the CISOs and the security teams want to know that that is configured in the correct way, that is surrounded by the right guardrails, the right policies are enforced. And so the more you drive that secure by design and secure by default, it doesn't just give you security, it gives you tremendous agility and ability to meet your commercial objectives. And CISOs these days, as everybody knows, are really all about not just defending the enterprise, but enabling the enterprise to operate with more agility and more productivity. And that's all about driving security into the platforms by design and by default. And again, this comes back to the story of what native does in terms of enabling security teams to look at whether that secure by design and secure by default is set up in the right way to achieve those commercial objectives.
Yeah, that's a great point. And, at Ballistic, a core part of our investment thesis across the portfolio is it's not just about improved security, it's about improved business enablement. Um, Amit, to give you the last word, can you talk about, some of the things that you've seen again from the, ground up on how you've been a business enabler, but also obviously on this very important topic of 2026, how your customers are thinking about you as part of their overall strategy to secure AI.
One, and Phil touched on it already earlier. Very important is that multi-cloud. And even from back to the days in AWS, we'd get on calls and say, "Hey, we love the product. It helps us solve a problem, but we're increasingly operating in additional cloud environments in Azure and Google Cloud, and we don't want to go to three, four different places to reach the same outcome." So, and I'm seeing this now even more so. We're increasingly in what I sort of see as a multi-cloud, multi-model world where the business wants the agility to go where they need to go to meet their business outcomes, right? And security now, what we're seeing with native is that security can really be an enabler of this multi-cloud, multi-model world. I spoke with a CISO of one of the largest healthcare groups just a couple of weeks ago, and they were lucky, one of the few lucky ones that held the line and remained a predominantly single cloud in Azure until today. But he said, I can see this isn't where the future is going. I'm already hearing from my CEO, from my CIO, that we increasingly want to have a presence across clouds, one for resiliency and regulatory requirements that are on the increase, but also for AI adoption. And he said, with native, even today where I'm in a single cloud, I could use this to now go to my CEO, to go to my board and say, "Hey, business, you can go wherever you need to go to meet your outcomes. And through native, I can now extend my security controls consistently across cloud environments." And we're hearing that also from other leaders where we're in production with. They're saying, my single, I'll take it all the way from the CISO all the way down to the practitioner. We're in a POV was a very large tech company, and the hands-on security engineer there was that wow moment where he said, "I just enforced a policy, a control on Google Cloud. And I've never used Google Cloud. I don't know Google Cloud. I'm an AWS expert, and through native, and I'm hearing this now from like the director, the VP level. They're saying my 5-person single cloud security team, and now feels like they're a 20-person multi-cloud security team. So headcount efficiencies, enabling multi-cloud adoption. And then the last piece I'd say is on the or a couple more. One is on reducing the friction and toil across the organization, right? A lot of the policies we help enforce result in less misconfigurations, less vulnerabilities. That results right natively into less tickets to send over to the other side to the engineering, less distraction, less context switching, less security work and toil for the organization. It's another win for the security leaders we're working with. They're reducing the number of tickets, the number of work that they're sending over to their counterparts by sort of setting the security by default into the environment. And then finally, the last one would be on, and this is also through a lot of conversations with analysts that we're working with as well, is around seeing where the world is going in terms of the speed of attacks, right? The speed of an AI attack. I say like even before it was the speed of an AI attack, it was the speed of an API attack. So it was already very fast, and really detection was was not always the solution. But as we're going deeper into AI speed attacks, secure by design and prevention is the only way to go. It means that the detection and our ability to detect and respond is just becoming less and less efficient. So I think across the board, we're seeing where things are going from a multi-cloud, multi-model, reducing security toil across the organization and adapting to this AI reality. There's a lot of sort of business goals that we're helping our customers achieve.
Well, I mean, we're really excited to be working with you, your co-founders, and the company, and for you to be part of the Ballistic family. Um, Really excited to be working with our friends at YL and GC, and want to thank everybody online for taking the time to hear the story. Thank you.